soldier. I got soul, but I'm not a soldier.
Panels are fun, video games are fun, so why do they gotta hurt so much?
So many people wanting autographs.
Donations are awesome, even if I can't fit my clothes in my luggage.
Let's just relax so we can get back down there.
No time for relaxing now.
Damn it, I thought this was a swivel chair. Linkara, what the hell are you doing?
And why are you dressed like the Seventh Doctor?
There's no time to explain! Actually, time is what is at stake here. For you see, there is a paradox upon us that, if not resolved, could result in the destruction of the universe! In a puff of dislogic.
You've been marathoning Doctor Who, haven't you?
Yes, but that's not important right now. What is important is... this!
Southland Tales? What the hell is this, a movie?
That is not a movie.
Oh god, not Southland Tales.
That is not a movie!
What's Southland Tales?
I'm glad you asked! Fortunately, I have Film Brain here to explain it!
Where am I? How did I get here?
I'll explain later, Film Brain. Now just tell the people about Southland Tales.
Okay. Once upon a time, there was a filmmaker called Richard Kelly. He hit it big in 2001, where he made a movie called Donnie Darko, which was about the apocalypse and time travel. The film was initially unsuccessful, but it gathered a small cult following thanks to midnight screenings and DVD. Suddenly, Kelly was big news, and the studios wanted him to write their scripts. Problem was, he was a bit of a one-trick pony. At one point, he was commissioned to write a script based on the children's book Holes. He turned in a hard-ass sci-fi fantasy where the holes that the kids were digging were to find people killed by a nuclear holocaust. And trust me, as someone who read that draft, it gets a lot stupider from there. Given the choice between Kelly's draft and the one by the book's original author, it's not surprising that Disney went with the latter. He also wrote Domino about bounty hunter Domino Harvey. Sort of. It was a bit of a mess. Then he went on to today's movie Southland Tales, which is a bit of a mess about time travel and the apocalypse, and that's frankly putting it mildly. Afterwards, he appeared to go more mainstream with The Box, an adaptation of the short Richard Matheson story Bussin' Bussin', which turned into a bit of a mess when he added padding involving aliens, time travel and the apocalypse. Are we beginning to notice a pattern emerging? Oh, and he produced the film version of I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell. Thanks for that, Rich.
So you want us to review it?
Yes, this is a movie so horrendous, nonsensical and pretentious that we must give it a review. It is a paradox how such a movie could be released to such a wide audience, knowing how dreadful it is. The only way to solve this paradox and save the universe is to review it.
Why is our default response to everything to automatically review it?
Where did Film Brain go?
Anyway, let's go!
I'm wondering why Linkara cares so much.
I'll explain later. Go!
We open to paranormal activity. However, before any demons can attack, Texas is nuked.
Run? Run away from the mushroom cloud? Why are you all just staring at it?
To be fair, it's not like you could outrun a nuclear blast, but they could have done something other than stare at it, like duck and cover or jump in a refrigerator.
What follows are, not kidding, 10 minutes of exposition given by Justin Timberlake, who serves as the narrator and a kinda sorta character in the movie.
To save you all time, I'll give you the short version. There were 2 nuclear attacks in Texas in 2005, the work of terrorists, and in the wake of that, America reinstates the draft, and Justin Timberlake says that World War III had begun, even though it shouldn't be a world war if America is only engaged in fighting against Iraq, Iran, Syria, Afghanistan, North Korea, like the movie suggests.
I'll take over for a minute since Nash is about to burst a blood vessel. Though before I do, I'd like to point out that World War III is apparently sponsored by Panasonic, Bud Light, and Hustler magazine. The war apparently created a strain on the United States oil supply, ignoring for a second that of those 5 nations, only one of them is in the top 15 countries that the United States imports oil from. And at the time the movie was made, it was number 6. But anyway, alternative fuels are on the rise and the Republicans win a landslide congressional victory out of fear of another terrorist attack.
And then, elephants fucking!
Settle!
Wait, I'm not even sure what that's supposed to mean. Yeah, elephants are the symbol of the Republican Party, but what does them having sex have to do with the Patriot Act expansion caption underneath it? Is it expanding so only Republicans are allowed to have sex?
As you can see, all of the exposition is provided in this weird framing system like a news show. Hey, remember those parts of Starship Troopers where it's like the viewers accessing historical files and information about the war with the alien bugs and it's a rather entertaining satire? This is nothing like that. It's Justin Timberlake talking in a low, hushed voice about how America is becoming a police state while we watch elephants have sex.
He goes on to talk about military checkpoints at interstate borders and how a fringe group of neo-Marxists is the biggest opposition to this new oppressive American government. He then suddenly talks about how an actor named Boxer Santaros, who had ties to the Republican Party, has suddenly gone missing. And he talks about this 3 times in his exposition dump, as if he's worried the audience will forget about it. Dude, he's played by The Rock. It's kind of hard to forget about a guy that big going missing.
3 days later, he was discovered in the Nevada desert with his memory erased, but the circumstances of his return to the Southland remained a mystery.
Because telling us about important plot points is much better than actually having them happen in the movie.
Justin Timberlake's character, and I say that with the strongest possible quotation marks, is Private Abilene, an Iraq War veteran who was injured thanks to shrapnel from a grenade thrown by one of his fellow soldiers. That's kind of a plot point, but with this thing it's hard to tell. We first see him reading from a Bible and sitting on a big gun near the beach. What's the big gun for? Well, naturally, in this dystopian America, we need guys sitting all along the coast operating guns so they could shoot, criminals? An invasion by Australia?
I'm going to tell you the story of Boxer Santaros and his journey down the road not taken.
Robert Frost? I saw 2 paths diverge in a wood, and I took the road less traveled by, and that has made all the difference?
Oh, don't worry, that makes sense at the end.
Does it?
Nope.
This is the way the world ends.
Really slowly and boringly?
This is the way the world ends. Not with a whimper, but with a bang.
Yeah, get used to hearing that. And it doesn't get any more profound, no matter how many times they repeat it. Okay, we need to summarize some more, but there's a lot of backstory here. Boxer Santaros was dating the daughter of Senator Bobby Frost. Get it? Robert Frost? Yeah, it has nothing to do with anything. And while he wandered around with partial amnesia, he was located by a porn star named Krista Now, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar. Krista Now is connected to the neo-Marxists, sort of, and she tells him that they wrote a screenplay together predicting the destruction of the world.
By the way, I really hope you're following all of this so far, because it gets worse. This movie is one of the most convoluted messes ever released to theaters. Bear in mind it just took almost 2 full pages, single space, to summarize a 10-minute exposition dump, and that's not even explaining what's going on in this movie.
If you didn't follow any of that, here's the cliff notes. America is a police state. During World War III, The Rock is a Republican who has amnesia, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer is exploiting him to help communists overthrow the government.
4? Temptation Waits? Like what? Book 4? Episode 4? What the fuck is this, a Star Wars homage or something? And that's where I come in! You see, Southland Tales was supposed to be a really big deal at the time, so much so that they created a comic book prologue to try to expand on the saga.
And I really tried to read this crap, but it was so complicated and nonsensical that I broke and just read the Wikipedia summaries. And guess what? You're not missing anything. It explains some stuff here or there, like how Justin Timberlake is actually a guard for that big facility behind him, but it also raises a whole bunch of new questions and plot holes, and contradictions to things established in the movie, so I say it's better to just focus exclusively on this movie. After all, if you need supplementary material in order for people to understand your movie, then you are failing as a filmmaker.
And that's why I brought you all together to review this, and why I seem to give a damn about this movie.
You do realize you could have done this on your own, right?
And you know, you didn't really need to review this since the comic takes place before it.
Well,
You'll explain later.
yes, hopefully I will have an answer for you by then.
The government decided that it could not properly conduct a war on terror unless cyberspace was placed under federal control.
Naturally, right? I mean, if the government can't control TV tropes or I Can Has cheeseburgers, the terrorist will win.
Okay, back to exposition. That Senator Frost guy is responsible for US IDENT, a system that monitors all information on the web and apparently has cameras in airport bathrooms that people are supposed to be watching 24/7. Also, their dress code is transparent lab coats. Because that's what we wore in 2008.
Our trusty narrator explains that a renegade scientist named Baron von Westphalen, played by Wallace Shawn, came up with a revolutionary new energy source.
Yeah, it's a wireless power field created by hydroelectric energy, which is why every time we see fluid karma in the movie, it's bright red liquid. Oh, and another note on fashions in the far-out future of 2008. Big silver corsets for men. Also, Zelda Rubinstein, the psychic lady from Poltergeist, is part of Wallace Shawn's entourage.
Quantum teleportation.
Why did she say that? Completely out of nowhere. What does quantum teleportation have to do with anything?
Oh, well, that's very easy to explain, actually. You see, I'll get it.
Hello.
Ah! How did you do that?
Quantum teleportation.
Well, two can play at that game. In fact, I'm not even in front of you.
Anybody can do that, Louis Cara. It's not that special.
Wait, where did Nash go? And where are Lupa and Phaelus?
They said something about not wanting to review something that was not a movie, and they left.
Are we in the same room? It's not like that room was all that important anyway.
This room only has one bed.
Oh, we can share it.
Oh yeah, we can. And don't be surprised if all those people come back and we're in a different room.
None of us were ever here.
Anyway, Krista now has a talk show where she discusses important issues of the day with other porn stars.
Issues like abortion, terrorism, crime, poverty, social reform, quantum teleportation.
So what? Quantum teleportation is an issue now?
Oh, definitely. Right up there with taxes and civil liberties, which is why they put it front and center in this movie.
And of course, it's why they never bring it up ever again.
But I guess it's a rerun since Krista is meeting with her friend Fortunio, played by Will Sasso of Mad TV fame.
Yeah, get used to the bizarre casting choices of this movie, with a lot of name actors, Saturday Night Live cast members, or just people who needed a paycheck. But back to Krista now.
But deep down inside, everyone wishes they were a porn star.
I really don't.
All the Pilgrims did was ruin the American Indian orgy of freedom.
All of you remain where you are for a moment. I'm going to punch through a wall. We're introduced to more characters who have as much significance on the plot as anyone else, so I won't bother giving names except for Nana Mae Frost, Boxer Santoris' mother-in-law. Wikipedia describes her as the antagonist of the movie, even though she doesn't really do anything except sit in a chair watching people on TV screens.
What we do get is some more plot dump. And we haven't even reached the 20-minute mark. Senator Frost is told that whoever kidnapped Boxer originally also stole a prototype SUV. They found the remains of the SUV out in the desert along with the charred remains of a body.
To make a long and very confusing story short, especially since we've barely even gotten into what passes for a plot in this movie, Krista is helping out Fortunio for reasons explained in the graphic novel, and has assigned him as co-producer on the script that she claims Boxer Santeros wrote about the end of the world. She then plots to get funding for a show with the help of a porn director named Cindy Pinzicki, who is a leading member of the neo-Marxist movement, Even though we clearly see that Krista already has a show, so what is even the hell? Krista has taken video of her making out with Boxer, and the neo-Marxists hope to use that footage to create a scandal in the Republican Party and keep them from winning the next election. However, they've also got another plot going on to bring down US Ident that we'll get into later, because that one is even more confusing and introduces even more characters.
There are seriously like 30 characters in this movie with their own subplots, and it really gets confusing who is doing what, who knows what other people are doing, and what their own plots and motivations are about.
Revelation 6:8. And behold, a pale horse, and he who sat on it, his name was Death.
Well, that's not a nice thing to say about Christopher Lambert.
Yeah, we've got the freaking Highlander in this movie, and he plays a black market gun salesman.
He's selling some blanks to Sherry O'Terry from Saturday Night Live, but is upset when she dares to try and pay with a personal check.
Say it again, man. Say it again. Huh? What was that? Huh? What was that? I can't hear you! I can't hear you! What was that? Say it again, you fuck!
Okay, this scene is hilarious, but I sincerely hope that it was meant to be hilarious, because Sherry O'Terry beating up Connor McLeod? Yeah, no. Just no.
Sherry O'Terry Fofiri is part of the neo-Marxists, and it's time to introduce another group of characters. Only one of them is actually important. Sean William Scott as Ronald Taverner, an ex-soldier. He's playing a little game where he tries to outrun his reflection in the mirror, and hey, he's winning! And no, we really don't get any explanation for that later on.
His mission was to impersonate his twin brother. But his heart was filled with despair.
Confusion and dull surprise are the same thing as despair, right?
Sean William Scott is brilliant in any of these scenes. It's like he's desperately trying to comprehend the script, but until he actually does, he has to pretend that he gets it.
Ronald goes to Krista's house, where he's going to be doing a ride-along with Boxer Santaros, who's doing research for his movie. The neo-Marxist plan here is to fake a murder, make it look like Ronald is a racist cop, and Boxer Santaros can unwittingly capture it all on tape. Thus, they'll have evidence that the system is corrupt and create an even bigger scandal that will destroy US Ident.
Yep, that's a great plan, especially because, as we all know, a single racist cop means the entire system is corrupt and must be brought down.
But first, Boxer Santaros decides to explain what his movie is about.
It takes place in the near future.
Scientists are saying the future is going to be far more futuristic than they originally predicted.
Future events such as these will affect you in the future.
My character, he realizes that the apocalyptic crime rate is because of global deceleration. The rotation of the Earth is slowing down at a rate of 0.0000006 miles per hour each day.
Which, assuming we're doing the math correctly, and going by the idea that the Earth rotates at 1,038 miles per hour at the equator, and foregoing any other factors except the rotation, means that the Earth will totally stop rotation in about 47 million years. I don't think that's quite the end of the world epic they were going for.
Oh, and by the way, this little screenplay predicting the end of the world, supposedly that's what's actually happening in the movie. Wallace Shawn's perpetual motion machine is causing the Earth to slow down, make people nuts, and Krista now has a psychic vision of it happening and made it into a screenplay.
And the best part is that it affects nothing in the overall plot.
That's right, people. Only in Southland Tales could a scheme to cause the end of the fucking world not have any actual relevance to the story.
Then again, we're not even sure if it is a scheme or not. All of Wallace Shawn's entourage in the movie act all cryptic and mysterious about it, with this Asian lady seeming to know and want the end of the world, for some reason. But Wallace Shawn himself seems as confused as everybody else by the things that happen in the plot.
Anyway, Rocky Santana says his character's name in the movie is Jericho Kane, and the two have their little ride-along.
Ronald asks Boxer about what his wife feels about him sleeping with Krista now.
I'm not married. You're not? No, I'm not.
Huh, interesting amnesia. He remembers he was a movie star, but he doesn't remember he was married. Maybe it was Mephisto who kidnapped him.
The Rock decides to tell more and more plot details about a super awesome screenplay.
It all hinges on a top-secret experiment. A young couple comes home from the hospital with their newborn baby. A week goes by and the baby still hasn't produced a bowel movement.
I haven't had a bowel movement in 6 days.
Da-da-da-da! Revelation 11 tells the tale of two witnesses who appear in Jerusalem to speak out against the sins of mankind.
And what? Did the two witnesses not use the bathroom? What's the point of that quote from Revelation?
Well, see, the entire film is supposedly an interpretation of the Book of Revelations. Oh, by the way, I'm in this review now. The Book of Revelation, or the Revelation of St. John, is the last book of the New Testament. It foretells the end of the world and the second coming of Christ, which Justin Timberlake keeps reciting. The book foretells the world will be a miserable place filled with war, famine, and disease, which is fairly true of any given historical era, but that's beside the point. Eventually, the Antichrist will show up and take over the world. Among his accomplices will be a false prophet, a deceitful ruler. The false prophet and the Antichrist will create a dominating world system. Then two witnesses will appear. They will start speaking out against the Antichrist and begin overthrowing the evil empire. Then the center will not hold, and there will be a great many plagues and judgments and wailing and gnashing of teeth before Jesus Christ will ride on a white horse and establish the new kingdom of God. There's also a whore of Babylon dressed in purple and scarlet and gold and pearls, and she shall be a mother of all harlots and other things that aren't very nice to say to a lady. Anyway, Richard Kelly wrote this film to be a relatively straightforward one-to-one transliteration of the book Revelation, set in a Bush-era Californicated version of modern life, with Baron von Westphalen as the Antichrist, Senator Bobby Frost as his false prophet, Kristen Now as the whore of Babylon, the two witnesses, probably Box of Santeros and Ronald Tavener, the white horse as the levitating ice cream truck, and Christ as the two magnificent Stiflers. It's as simple as that.
So, what's the biblical significance of the elephants fucking?
Oh, nothing, just stupid, unsubtle jabs at the Republican Party.
Anyway, the neo-Marxists have a spy inside of US Ident named Kenny.
You two don't understand. I mean, the shit is literally hitting the fan.
Unfortunately for them, US Ident knows he's a spy and planted a wire on his jacket thanks to this woman, Starla. Ah, the bright, unfulfilled, and confusing promise of a new character.
We'll get back to her later, but for now, let's have a more formal introduction to those neo-Marxists we saw earlier, Dion and Dream. Dream is played by Amy Poehler, another Saturday Night Live cast member who apparently was free for the weekend or something. They're poets who will be the ones that Sean William Scott is going to pretend to kill. However, their scheme may be all for naught since US Ident decides to storm their headquarters and kill everyone inside. Yeah, I guess keeping people alive for interrogation would be kinda silly.
You're in my way, sir.
You're in my way.
You're in my way.
Boss, you're in my way. You're in my way.
You're in my way.
Boss, you're in my way.
You're in my way.
You're in my
way.
You're in my position, sir. You're in my
You're in my way.
You're in my way. You're in my way.
Kenny hears the gunshots in the building and realizes what's happening, and as such he wakes up Sean William Scott. Okay, remember, this is supposed to be Ronald's twin brother Roland, the real cop. They've kept him tied up and drugged this whole time. Kenny gets him to the roof, where in a spaced-out haze he falls off the roof and into a dumpster. What a wonderful metaphor for his career.
Kenny is shot several times and falls onto a random giant toilet in the middle of the room. I'd say it was a metaphor for his career, but the toilet is probably a better place than this movie.
Boxer and Ronald have lunch, but that gets interrupted when Ronald suddenly notices these two guys staring at him, who then motion for him to come over. Who are these guys? Why do they want to talk to him? Who the fuck knows? Boxer sees Wallace Shawn's girlfriend, Serpentine, and for some reason follows her into a bookstore. Inside the store, he finds more members of his crew.
He is a fine specimen, a divine specimen. Whatever happens next is through no fault of your own.
The Rock's acting in this scene is superb. He looks just as confused as we are.
They say they've read his screenplay and that everything he predicts in it will come true. How did they know that? We never get told how these people can see into the future and know that the screenplay will come to pass. And wait, if they know that all this will happen, why aren't they trying to change it? He's predicting the end of the world!
This is the way the world ends. Not with a whimper, but with a bang.
This is the way your audience's patience runs out. Not with a whimper, but with a groan of frustration.
And now it's time for book, chapter, episode, whatever number 5, Memory Gospel. It begins with a woman eating Cheetos at a computer desk while watching people in airport bathrooms. Truly, this is a masterwork of deep, profound cinema.
Starla had downloaded a copy of Boxer's screenplay from Krista's website. Her romantic obsession led to a spiritual transformation.
Okay, 1, she has a little shrine to him. That's not a spiritual transformation, that's becoming a creepy stalker lady. 2, why the hell did Krista put the screenplay up for anybody to download and read? Anyway, Starla, going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, starts believing that she's a character from the screenplay, a scientist who can help Jericho Kane, again Boxer Santeros' character, solve the mystery of the global deceleration. I reiterate that this is all completely pointless and leads to nothing in the overall plot.
Meanwhile, the neo-communist plan goes into action, calling Roland to a domestic dispute. Once there, he'll fire a gun with blanks in it at Dion and Dream, who have squibs placed under their clothes. With Boxer recording it, they'll have proof that Sean William Scott is a racist, and thus all of U.S. Ident is evil. Best plan ever. Nothing could possibly go wrong, unless John Lovitz were suddenly to show up out of the blue to respond to the domestic disturbance call.
Hermosa Beach. Little bit out of your jurisdiction, don't you think?
Hey, John Lovitz, a well-known comedian. Well, maybe we'll get some humor to liven this thing up.
That's an original poem by Dream. Oh.
Dream over.
Okay, let's unpack this one, shall we? Neo-communists stage a fake murder by a racist cop, but it gets interrupted by John Lovitz, who shows up out of the blue to actually murder them, spouting off a cheesy one-liner while playing it completely straight. I honestly didn't think it was intended to be funny, but it is. It truly is.
John Lovitz takes the camera away from Boxer and tells him to run.
You're not really here. Who am I? None of your business.
What the? Did we turn over 2 pages at once or something? Where did this come from? John Lovitz murders 2 people, then says, "You're not really here." What is this crap?
I was never here.
Movie? I can't hear the actor. Could you turn the music down a little? It might be something profound or reveal important plot details. Or we could just forget about this. Whatever.
Well, okay, with this tense, shocking situation, it's time finally to see Sean William Scott show off his acting chops. Okay, I'm done acting for the day, bye.
Boxer gets a phone call from Starla, who has fully embraced her inner crazy, and talks to him as if he really is Jericho Kane.
Your hypothesis was correct. A corruption in the tidal drag has caused a rift in the space-time continuum.
God, this movie! What is with these scenes? Why is any of this in here at all?